Okay, so in the previous video we talked about starting to talk about route planning and how to plot a leg of a trip on a USGS topographical map. We're going to take that a little bit further and we're going to start planning a cross-country route. So we're going to go through all of the things that you need to keep in mind as you are traveling, planning a route. So what I'm going to say is, what I'd like to do is I'd like to say that we're going to start our trip at this boat ramp right here. Actually, let's make it a little easier so you can see on the camera. We want to get to this little outlet, this little bay, or well, it looks like it's a little tiny lake, part of this canoe lake. We're right here in this parking area, this intersection where we're going to park, and we're going to go cross country to this location. So first, what I want to do is I want to understand the area in which I'm going to be moving around. And what I like to do myself is I just like to take my pencil and mark a general circle around the area that I'm going to be in. All right, and what that does is that helps kind of, as I'm picking up my map and I'm trying to figure out my location of where I'm at, each day or area that I'm going to be, where I'm going to be referring the map, it's going to help kind of give me an idea of kind of the area in which I want to concentrate my focus on, because then it cancels out all of the noise for the rest of the area of the map. It says I'm only going to be within this area here, so I want to really focus in on that area. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to indicate my starting point and my ending point here. All right. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to break this up into smaller legs, smaller kind of waypoints, so that I know that I'm staying on track. Because if I'm just going to go cross country across this whole area, then it could be pretty difficult for me to know that I'm on track, especially if I can't see my destination. So I'm going to try to break this up into legs as much as I possibly can. So as the crows flies, I'll measure my bearings out of what I'm going to travel. So that's 100 degrees is what I've just measured there. All right. And then next thing I wanted to do is I want to figure out the time that it's going to take for me to get to one location to the next. And using my scale, I see that it's 0.7 miles from one location to the next. All right. Now, if I don't have scales on the side of my compass, the easiest thing to do then is just to take the string on your compass, or a separate string, Kevlar string, even dental floss works, and you can use that string to snake up and down the trail that you're hiking, following the trail that you're going. In this case, I'm going in a straight line, but if it was a windy trail like this road here, then I can put my string right along here, and I can then take that distance and I can put it up against the scale down here, and then from there it's going to tell me how far. So that is roughly 1 mile from here to here following the road. So it's a 1 mile hike from here to here. Again, right here, pinch it there, put it on the scale, and it's 1/7 of a mile. So now that gives me an idea of how long it's going to take me to get from here to here. Because I can take that then and I can extrapolate my distance. If I'm going off-road, and I'm going 3 miles an hour, that's going to take me roughly about 15 minutes or so of travel time. And we'll talk more about how you can figure that out more exact when we're talking about Dead Reckoning. But in order to know that, we're going to look at everything that's going to be from between us, from this point here and this point here. So we're going to consider how heavy our pack is. We're going to consider uphill travel, downhill travel. We're going to consider the type of clothing that we might have on, to wind speed, if it's going to be we're walking against the wind or with the wind, all of these things. And over the course of time, just experience is going to give you a better gauge of your timing. But what you can say is, in general, if you're off trail, 3 miles an hour is a pretty good average for most people. If you're on a paved path, like the road here, you could probably increase that to about 4 miles an hour. All right? So we're just going to use some generalities. You know, we're going to be off plus or minus, and that's okay when you're out in the woods, and you're off by a few minutes here or there, you're off by a few yards. It's not that big of a deal. You don't have to be super, super precise. We're not calling in military, or artillery fire. So as we're walking through here, and we want to break up our trip into sections. So my first section is going to be the tree line here for this field. So I'm going to note that. That's going to be one area that I want to break up. Maybe I could break up the other end of that field. And then the third might be the actual end of the destination here. But let's just say there's another edge of a field into this marsh. Okay. So at this point, I should be able to see the open field. At this point, we should be focused back into the woods. Right here is going to be overlooking the marsh, and then right here is where the lake is. So these are going to give me some 3 points of terrain in which I'm going to be looking for. So now I'm going to be able to visualize, as I'm walking, what each leg is going to look like. All right, and that's kind of key to kind of route planning. Now I want to keep in mind my terrain, the contour lines along this terrain. This is all very flat, so it's going to be very quick for me to go. But maybe if I knew there's a hill, I'd be walking uphill. Maybe I'm down here, and I'm going over a couple hills, through a marsh, across a road. I'm going to try to picture in my mind what that's going to start looking like as I'm walking through that territory. And then as I go from each leg, I'll measure each one of these legs to figure out how much time it's going to take, estimate how much time it's going to take to get to each component. You know, if this is about halfway, if the field here looks to be about halfway, and this total trip is, 14, 15 minutes, that means this is going to be a 5 to 7 minute walk to get into this field. So within 5 minutes or so of walking, I should be seeing a clearing. And if I don't see that clearing, then I might want to start thinking about how I got turned around, how I got disoriented, and to get myself back onto this baseline that I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to look for some handrails. So certainly a marsh down here, if I can see it, could be a handrail. The edge of the forest on the south side is a handrail from at this particular leg. I'm going to look for baselines. Well, if I'm walking and I come across a creek, not baselines, backstops. If at some point I come across a creek, then I know that I've walked, I'm off path, I'm off course. So I go through the woods, and all of a sudden I come across this creek here. Ooh, that could be bad news. That means that I'm too far north, and I'm going to have to start heading south. If I for whatever reason get turned around and I come across this road, there are no other roads in this area other than this unpaved. There's an unpaved road, and there's a paved road. And if I come across a paved road, I know I'm going backwards. If I go across a road that's unpaved, that's going to tell me that I'm either here or down here. So I can start isolating my location and where I'm at based off of the time and the distance in which what I've traveled to start figuring out my exact location, what I did wrong, and where I need to go. Now, keep in mind that this is an area that's completely void of terrain. It's very flat. It's going to be very densely forested other than this open area, right? But I can still use terrain association in this area, not just in, like, say, a very hilly area where you can identify ridge lines and mountainscapes and places like that that are very visible, or even like on a shore of a lake. So let's talk about emergencies really quick. If you need to escape or get away, you want to think about how you've planned for emergencies in case there is an accident of some kind. So certainly, if you were at the lake here and you wanted to get to help very quickly or get back to your car, you would have to determine where you'd want to go. All I'd have to do, if this is a 15-minute walk, is if I'm panicked or if I don't have my compass for whatever reason, or I get totally turned around, all I know is I can head west, and at some point, if I head west, I'm going to hit the road. And if I hit this road, I know I need to go north to get to my car. And so this north, at this section, from here to here, can't be more than a 15 or 20-minute walk, or a very quick run. So that means if 15 minutes goes by and I don't see my car, I'm going to have to turn around, and I'm probably turned around and going the wrong direction. Or if I come down this road and I start seeing this bend here, then that's an indicator that I'm going in the wrong direction. I want to turn around and go back this way. So again, it's about using your map and using logic and reasoning and the terrain around you to start making decisions and then using your compass to reaffirm those decisions. Now, certainly I can do an azimuth. I can just basically take it, since 360 degrees, I can subtract 180 degrees and have a back azimuth that's going to give me a line of travel, a baseline, directly back to my car. And that would be probably the most simple thing to do. But again, if there's any drift, right, this road, it can act as a backstop. So if I'm moving very quickly and I'm not checking my map and compass, but I hit this road, I know I'm going to either be north or south of my car if I'm running in that direction, right? So then I'm going to look for, if I see another road, I know exactly where I'm at in terms of the map. It's not very far from this road to this road, not even a quarter mile. Now, if I was looking for a campsite, that's a whole nother thing. And I think we could probably spend a lot more time on campsites or looking for a place for like a survival shelter, let's say, because you certainly want water. You want to understand cover. You want to understand, microclimates and how those affect and where you're going to build your shelter. And so you can use your topographical map to find an ideal location to set up your campsite. And again, we can talk, if you're interested, we can talk specifically about how to locate a good shelter site or a campsite using a topographical map.